this week, I'll lead you through a slow peak pose yoga practice. And our peak pose is going to be the shoulder stand. So we're going to get upside down and change our perspective a little bit. Let's get started. For this week's practice, you don't need any props. I'll lead you through this practice without any props. Of course, if you know that you have sensitive knees, you might have something to cushion the knees, or if there are any other props that you know you always use them, just bring them next to your mat so you can use them if you want. But I'll lead you through this without any extra props. And we are going to start from standing up today. And to start the practice, I'm going to invite you to bring your feet together, the insides of the legs as close together as they want to get. There might be a small natural gap, but the idea is to bring the legs together and just find a solid support on 2 feet. You bring arms down next to your sides and just take a moment to rock the weight from the front of the feet to the heels. Just a couple of times, looking for the center. You could rock a bit from right to left. And see if you can start to find those insides of your legs, that inner line from the arches of the feet all the way to the inside of the knees, the inner thighs, into the pelvis. You can imagine that you're gently squeezing something between the legs. Not aggressively, just a gentle support, but finding that inner line through the legs into the pelvis. And then try to find center. Where do you feel you're standing on 2 feet? On the heels and the balls of the feet. And take a couple of breaths here. Let your exhalation start lifting gently up from the lower belly towards the chest. With the in-breaths finding some opening, some space in the ribs. So starting to find some core support. And that support starts from the feet, goes through the inner legs, comes all the way up to the belly. But still some space for the breaths. And then if you feel secure here, we'll try balance on the toes a few times. So maintaining that support, that lift up. See if you could exhale, lift your heels slightly off the mat. And then with the next exhalation, lower back down. Trying to keep your inner ankles, inner heels as close together as possible. 2 more times. Focus your gaze, your eyes onto something that's not moving. Really trying to maintain that connection between the inner heels, inner ankles, inner legs, core support. 1 more time. Exhale. A slow lift through the heels. Pressing down through the balls of the feet. And exhale, lower down. And then we'll step the feet a bit wider apart. Looking for some grounded support through the feet. And now we're going to free the upper body to move as we continue breathing. So ground down through the feet. And with the next inhalation, let your arms float up overhead. As you exhale, arms float sideways down, and now we could slightly rotate the shoulders in, round your upper spine and nod your chin towards the chest. Same again. Let the in-breath open through the ribs, through the armpits, arms floating up. Exhalation brings the arms sideways down, rounding the neck, maybe even the upper back. Couple more times. In breath, arms float up, opening the side ribs, armpits. Exhalation, arms come down, chin towards the chest. One more time, still connected to your feet. In breath, arms lengthen up. And out, breath, arms come down. You can round your upper spine one more time. And then bring yourself back to center. Take a breath in and out. Then I'll turn sideways. You can stay the way you are. I'll just turn sideways so you can see. We're going to go into standing back bend. And I will bring hands behind the pelvis, behind the lower back. A bit like we would have them in shoulder stand. And just trying to kind of walk the elbows, shoulder blades closer together, as we are going to do when we get into our shoulder stand. And then keep gently drawing the elbows towards each other. Press down through the feet, core engaged. Inhale, lift up through the chest bone. And then as you exhale, see if you can lift into a small back bend. Focusing on opening across the chest. Still gently drawing the elbows in, which might restrict your back bend, but more just focusing on the shoulder action, that opening across the chest, and the feet that are still pressing down. Take another breath here. And then as you inhale, lift yourself back to center. Bring hands on the fronts of your thighs. And now as you exhale, start slowly rolling down. Bring chin towards the chest. And then in your own time, maybe knees bent, slowly roll down. You can slide hands even all the way down onto the mat. And you decide how far down is good to go now. Like I said, you can bend your knees quite deeply. See if you could, by bending your knees, bring your belly a bit closer to the thighs. Release the neck, release the shoulders. You might hold elbows in front of the legs if that feels good. That might release the upper back a bit. Take another breath in and out. And then slowly, we're going to bend the knees quite deeply. Bring hands onto the shins. And as you inhale, start lifting your back up, walking hands up along the legs. If you feel dizzy, leave chin to your chest for a moment. And then as a separate movement, you can bring your head up, open the chest, and just roll the shoulders a couple of times. We're going to go into some side bends and then a chair. And we'll slowly end up closer to the mat. And for the side bend, I would invite you again to bring your feet, your inner legs together so that we can practice that support that we are going to need in shoulder stand as well as we lift up through the legs. And then pressing down through the feet. As you inhale again, let your arms float up. And this time, take hold of your left wrist with the right hand. Find that inner leg support. Next, in breath and out breath. Lift yourself out to the right into a gentle, quite small side bend. Main focus would be the legs. So now I'm inviting you to ground down, press down through the legs and see if that could take some effort off your shoulders, your neck. Maybe that could leave some space for your breaths. Take another breath here. You could send your breath to that left side, left armpit. And then as you inhale, lift back up. Exhale, release the arms. Feel that long line from your feet all the way to your head. We'll do same to the other side. So now as you inhale, let your arms float up, feet grounding down. Take hold of your right wrist with the left hand. And then again with an in-breath and out-breath, lifting up and finding a side bend, leaning over to the left. So now the opening is on the right side. Focusing on the legs, focusing on that grounding through the feet. And finding some space for the breath. We don't need to go into a deep side bend, more focus on that connection from your feet all the way up to your shoulders, to your head. Take another breath in and out. Can you still feel the inner legs? And inhale, lifting up. Exhale, release the arms. You can roll the shoulders out, turn sideways. You might do the same so that you have space in front of you, space behind you. We'll go into one more standing pose, the chair pose. And now you have an option. Have your feet hip width apart or feet together. Where do you feel you can ground down most as we go into chair? We'll start with arms down by our sides. Inhale. And then as you exhale, bend the knees, sit down into your chair, and you could lengthen arms overhead. Let the pelvis, let the back tilt forward, and keep maybe a bit more weight on the heels. If having arms overhead is maybe stressing the shoulders too much, bring arms behind the backs of the hands resting on your lower back. Still keeping chest open, elbows reaching out to the sides. And breathing here. Maintaining that connection from head to tail. From sit bones down to the heels. And now if you have arms overhead, slowly bring them behind the back. And then interlock fingers, bring palms together behind the pelvis. As you exhale, fold forward, another full forward bend, but this time you could let your arms float down behind the back. And you can play with your hands. Does it feel different in the shoulders if you press the heels of your hands together versus if you let the heels of the hands slide apart? Which one feels more stable? Which one gives you more maybe space around the shoulders? Just make sure you're not hurting in the shoulders, and at any point you can release the arms down. Take another breath in and out. The knees can be quite deeply bent, the belly coming onto the thighs. And then stay down here, but start to slowly bring hands onto your lower back. Then release your hands onto the mat, onto the floor, and walk into a brief downward dog. Just to give a bit of space for the hips, for the legs. You could pedal your feet here a couple of times. And then we're going to come down onto hands and knees, onto all fours. And you can come down onto elbows and knees as well if that feels better. We are going to do some movement here, and we'll start with some cat-cows. So either on hands or on your elbows. Toes can be either relaxed, or you might tuck the toes under. It might help you to connect more to your feet. And then as you exhale, round your back. Inhale, stay in this cat pose, maybe opening a bit more through the backside. Next exhalation, Start to open the chest, finding a gentle back bend, but keeping support on the belly side as well. Inhaling here. And again with an out breath, rounding the spine. In breath, staying in that cat. Maybe we can round even more through the backside. And again with an exhalation, opening through the front. You might look forward if that feels good, but don't force the neck. Couple more times, and now follow your own breath as you round the back into the cat. You might reverse the breath as well. And then finding the cow pose, that back bend, but keeping control through the core. One more round in your own time. Rounding and arching the spine. Trying to move through the pelvis, through the back, through the neck, through the head, all connected. And then we're going to lean the pelvis back into child's pose, so rounding the back. And if you want, you might lift hands onto fingertips, keep arms overhead, or you might bring arms next to your legs if that feels better. Or maybe hands under the head. Where do you feel you could soften the shoulders, the neck? And where could you take a few breaths in and out? And you can let those breaths move along the back side of the spine. Just feeling that space at the back of the rib cage. And then bring hands back on the mat overhead. Lift yourself onto hands and knees. And from hands and knees, step your right foot forward into a low lizard lunge. And now we're just going to say hello to the front of that left thigh, left hip. And you can keep your hands down on the mat. Or if you want, inhale and bring your hands onto your right thigh, so lifting a bit higher up. Or the last option would be to bring arms behind the back, interlock fingers, and then maybe open the chest just a bit more if that feels good. But find a variation, find an option that feels good for you right now. Just take another breath in and out. And then we're going to slowly bring the hands back down. And we're going to step the right knee behind us. Do a couple of circles on hands and knees. Just shifting the weight from hands to knees. And then we'll go into that low lunge on the other side. So when you're ready, step your left foot forward. Find a place where you can still press down through that left foot. And then you have an option to stay here with hands on the mat. Or if you want, you could lift your back up, bring hands onto the left knee, left thigh. Or if you want, reach arms behind the back and this time take hold of your opposite elbow. And then take another couple of breaths. Wherever you are, the left leg, left foot pressing down. And then slowly release the pose. Bring your hands on the mat. Again, step left knee back to the right knee, and a few more circles just to invite some movement to the hips, joints, shoulder joints. Very free flow movement. And then from all fours, bring yourself into a seat. You might cross your ankles and then sit over your ankles onto your pelvis, or find a different way to bring yourself into a seat. And then we're going to do a few seated poses. And we're going to start with a seated twist over to the left. And we're going to leave the right leg extended. Then step left foot on the inside of the right leg. So now we're not going to cross the left leg. We'll keep the left foot on the left side. And here, just having that idea or that visualization of the inner legs. We're not squeezing them together now, but keeping the legs contained. Right arm hugging the left knee. And then left hand somewhere behind you. And a few breaths. Allowing the in breaths open across the chest. Let the out breath soften the ribs, the spine into the twist. Feel the in breaths really opening through the ribs, moving the ribs. Exploring space that we have there. For that subtle kind of mini movement with each breath. Not jamming the shoulders or shoulder blades. Take another breath here, in and out. And then slowly start to release that twist. And before we twist to the other side, we'll go into a forward bend. Keep your legs in front of you. You might bend your knees, especially if when you're seated you feel like your legs are pushing your pelvis back. If it's challenging to keep the pelvis upright, you are very welcome to bend the knees, or you might even bring your legs into a butterfly if that's more accessible to you now. And then from where you are, from that starting place, as you exhale, start from the head, slowly rolling the head down, rounding through the neck, and rolling down. Start to tilt the pelvis forward, but our intention would be to round the spine. So not necessarily bringing head down to the knees, but that's the idea. So it's a curve through the spine. We are engaging through the front side, so we are kind of drawing in through the belly, trying to curve the spine so that we could bring head down closer to the shins. So it's an active rounding from the neck through the spine. The in breath you can open through the backside. Exhalation helps you draw in through the belly, so the core is active here. You would keep your feet flexed. Have the activation coming through the legs as well. Take another breath in and out. And then help with your hands and arms to lift the back up, lift the head up. Roll through the shoulders. And then we're going to twist to the other side. So now bend your right knee. Keep the left leg extended. You could keep your left foot ankle flexed here. And again, just finding that connection through the inner legs. Left arm hugging the right leg. And see where the right hand, or maybe just fingertips on the mat, where do they land without pushing, without pulling. And then start to focus on your breaths. Can we keep the rib cage free to move? You might feel shoulder blades moving a bit along the rib cage on the back side. So keeping space open for movement as we breathe in and out, rather than jamming ourselves into that fixed shape. Allowing a little bit of movement in a lot of places to keep the movement healthy, well distributed. Take another breath in and out. And then slowly start to release that twist. And then we have one more pose, one more movement from here. We're going to go into the upwards facing tabletop. So have your feet roughly hip width apart, hands under the shoulders. Now you might turn your fingers towards the feet, or for some people the fingers might point a bit more out to the sides. Find a place where you can safely press down through the hands as you let your chest open. Inhale, and as you exhale, press down through the feet to lift your pelvis up. So finding that tabletop, and you might move here a bit. If you're very mindful, careful with the shoulders, I'd quite like to rock a bit back and forth. Explore how the shoulders feel. You can keep tucking your chin towards the chest. You might look up to the ceiling. You might even drop your head back if that feels safe. Take one more breath in and out. Active opening across the chest. And then we're going to release down. And then we're going to roll all the way down onto the back. And just take a moment. You bring arms overhead if that feels good for you. You could swing the legs a bit from side to side. Or if you feel like hugging the knees in, feel free to bring the knees into your belly, into your chest. Take a few more breaths here, just resting, checking in how you feel. Let's take one more breath in and out. Just letting yourself arrive onto the mat. And then we'll have one more preparation pose before we make our way into the shoulder stand. And that's the bridge pose. So now bring your arms down next to your sides and feet on the mat, roughly hip width apart. And just start to first walk your shoulder blades a bit closer together. So you can kind of press down through the backs of the shoulders a bit, but you feel that space between the shoulder blades is a bit smaller. And then as you exhale, press down through the feet to lift your pelvis, lift your back off the mat. And then you might walk the shoulder blades even a bit closer together. Now you have an option here. You might interlock fingers, bring hands together if that feels good. Some of you might step hands under the pelvis onto the lower back, but that's quite dependent on the relationship between kind of the height of your bridge, the length of your forearms. And if that doesn't feel good, don't force it. But what we're practicing here is that placement of the arms, shoulder blades, and trying to find a place where you're not jamming your neck So you feel there's still a little space, maybe under the neck if possible. And we're also practicing here not to turn the head when we go into that shoulder stand. We're not going to turn the head. We're not going to look to the side. We're not going to move the head. We keep the neck and the head protected just at the center. Now we'll take one more breath in and out in that bridge. Legs might be shaking, that's very fine. And then with the next breath, start to release. Bring your back down, pelvis down, release the shoulder blades as well. And then just hug the knees in for a few breaths. So just a couple of things to remember in that shoulder stand, like I said, not to turn the head, not to move the neck. So when we go into that shoulder stand, I will do a shorter round demonstrating what we're doing. So if you're new to shoulder stand, just have a little look first, and then we're going to do a second round, a bit longer round, and then we can do it all together. Of course, if you are familiar with your shoulder stand and you want to play with it longer, you want to stay there longer, then feel free to go there on your own. Now, if or when you are ready for your shoulder stand, just make sure that you have a little bit space there overhead. There's some room after your head, still room over your head along the mat. And then we're going to, again, do the same preparation. So just walking the shoulder blades tiny bit closer together. Not all the way together, but just tiny bit closer together. And then bring knees towards the chest and drawing through the belly. We're going to exhale, lift the pelvis off the mat. Step, keeping knees bent. Step hands onto your lower back. And then you might walk your shoulder blades, elbows just a bit closer in. And we don't need to go into a full shoulder stand. We can do a half shoulder stand where we keep more, the pelvis a bit lower down. There's a bit more of a rounded shape through the spine. Still knees bent. Bring knees towards your shoulders. And then as you exhale, start to kick one leg up towards the ceiling, focusing on opening through the front of the right hip. And then with the next exhalation, same with the other leg. Again, focus on opening through the front of the hip. And then if you feel that there's space, you might lift higher up onto your shoulders, onto your upper back. Keep your feet flexed and keep reaching your feet up towards the ceiling, keeping legs close together so you feel that inner line. To come down, we're going to bend right knee towards the right shoulder, left knee towards the left shoulder, and then slowly we can roll down. Safely arrive back onto the mat. So that was my demonstration round. So you might have been watching. Now it's your turn to join in. Or if you are already there in your shoulder stand, you can come down for a bit and then you can go back up, or you can play with it longer. So we're going to go up one more time. We're going to start by walking the shoulder blades a bit closer together. So we can still press down through the arms onto the mat. You can turn your palms on the floor. Bring knees towards the chest and then lifting through the lower belly. So really using your abdominals and lifting pelvis off the mat. Step hands onto your back, and then you might still walk shoulder blades, elbows a bit closer together. Knees are bent, and then bring knees towards the shoulders. So we're really curled in, a bit like a child's pose. And then let's flex our feet already here. Now, as you exhale, start to kick your right foot, your right leg up towards the ceiling, opening through the front of that right hip. Then with the next exhalation, start kicking the left foot
up towards the ceiling. Find the inner legs close together. You might lift higher up onto your shoulders if you want. You can also stay lower down. And breathing in and out. Use your legs, use that inner strength through the inner legs to lift yourself up. And make sure you're not crunching onto your neck. You can still breathe. And then slowly to come down. We bend the right knee. Bring the right knee towards the shoulder. You can bend the left knee. Bring the left knee towards the left shoulder. And then start slowly rolling the spine down. And bring your feet on the mat. Hold a few windshield wipers. You might bring arms overhead if you like. I quite like that opening in the armpits across the chest after the shoulder stand. And then after a few swings from lying down on the back, we're going to roll down onto the belly and we'll do a few counter poses after those quite long, strong shoulder stands. So now roll down onto your belly. Extend your legs. You might find a better place on the mat. There we go. And we're going to go into some twisted cobras. So we'll keep the legs long on the mat. You can gently press down, kind of ground down through the front of the pelvis, front of the thighs. Now lengthen your left arm overhead, so your left hand is on the floor overhead. Right hand quite close to the right shoulder on the mat. From there, as you inhale, peel your chest off the mat and twist out to the right. Exhale, lower down. Change arms the other way around. Inhale, twisting out to the left as you peel your chest off the mat. So it's a mini cobra that is twisting to the side. Exhale, lower down. Change the arms, same again. Inhale, peel the chest off the mat, twist out to the right. And exhale, lowering down. Change the arms. Inhale, peeling the chest off the mat, twisting to the left. You might turn your head if that feels good. And exhale, lower down. One more time to both sides. Follow your own breath. Lifting up. I'm suggesting to breathe in. Exhale, lowering down. One more time out to the left, like a wave going through your body. Exhale, lower down. Then bring both hands on the floor. I'm suggesting quite wide apart, but if you want to bring hands under the shoulders, you can do that as well. And then as you inhale, lift up into your own full cobra pose. You decide how low down, how high up that is. Take a few breaths. You might move your neck, opening through the front side, so countering after that shoulder stand. And then exhale, lower down. Bring hands under the head and give yourself a few breaths here. And then from lying down on the belly, we are going to go into twists, reclining twists. So I'm now suggesting that from lying down on the belly, we start to roll down onto the left side, bending the right knee, leaving the right knee on the side of the mat, and then opening the chest up towards the ceiling. So you're opening right arm away from the right leg. So we find ourselves in a one-legged twist. If that doesn't feel good right now, you are more than welcome to bend the left knee, so your left knee is under the right knee. You could turn head to one side or the other. I would suggest here now to turn head to the left, so away from the right arm. Just to give some release for the neck. Take another breath in and out in that twist. And then we're going to roll back down onto the belly, closing the chest, turning back onto the belly. And then from belly, we're going to roll down onto the right side. So find your way onto your right side, bending the left knee, opening the left arm away from the left leg. And this side might be very different. So again, if you want, you can bend the right knee and bring it under the left knee. Maybe arms are in a different place. You might turn head to one side or the other. And just breathe here. Send your breaths all the way down to the lower back. Then slowly release the twist. Again, come back onto the belly for a moment. Bring hands under the head. Send a few breaths down to the lower back, down to the lower belly. And then you decide if you want to stay lying down on the belly for the final resting pose, or if you would rather come lie down on the back in a resting pose on the back, like Shavasana pose. This resting pose could be now any shape of your choice. Maybe there's a different pose. You could also have your knees bent, or it might be even nice to bring legs into a butterfly shape. We've done so much for the inner thighs today, so if that's something you feel that you'd like to do, then find a reclining butterfly pose. So in a butterfly pose, you would have feet together, knees bent and knees turned out to the sides. This final pose is really between you and your body. Any shape of your choice that allows you to rebound and rest after our shoulder stand practice. Once you have found your resting pose, You could close your eyes and then invite your awareness to your breath. You could give yourself a few slightly slower breaths and let the exhalation out through the mouth, let out a sigh. Releasing your jaw, your eyes. Then let your breath relax. Just continue to observe that gentle flow, subtle movement of your breaths. For a moment, let your mind rest in observing the breath. Give yourself another 5 to 10 breaths in your resting pose. After those 5 to 10 breaths, if you now feel that you want to stay longer in that resting pose, just take your time. There's no rush. Let yourself take as long as is needed today for your Shavasana pose. If you feel that it's a good time to start closing the practice here, then invite some gentle movement to your hands, your feet, your wrists, your ankles. Lengthen arms overhead along the floor and just gently reach hands and feet away from each other. And then in your own time, roll down onto one side. You might open your eyes along the way. And then in your own time, bring yourself up into a seat, into your own final seat. Where do you feel you could leave your hips, your back, your shoulders soft? Give yourself a few more breaths to close the practice, to let go of your practice today. And if it's a part of your practice, you can bring your hands, your palms together in front of the chest. And as always, at the end of the practice, most importantly, thank yourself for taking this time to move, to breathe. And I thank you very much for joining in, for sharing this time and sharing this practice. Namaste. Thank you.